please like and subscribe.
So, Kyle, welcome again to the program. And tell us just a little bit about yourself, maybe your role with Nobility, and kind of what you guys have going on right now.
Yeah, so I'm the CEO and founder of Nobility. I don't know how far back you want to go with my background or whatever, but
That's
went
totally up
to.
to you.
All right. Well, like I guess I'll play off what we were just talking about. I went to school at University of Cincinnati with Travis Kelsey, and don't know the guy at all, but had some classes with him, which is pretty cool. But yeah, after that, I moved down here to Florida, where I'm at now. Finished my last semester at Florida Southern. Got a double major in accounting and finance, and I had my first job out of college was at a public accounting firm doing auditing on middle market companies in Orlando. So I moved out there for a little bit, and the hours were insane and grueling. So I got out of that industry and moved to down to St. Petersburg and worked at Raymond James doing some private equity accounting there. During that time, I was like, dang, I need to do something myself. Like, I'm tired of working for other people. So while I was working there, I started doing some entrepreneurship stuff, built up an e-commerce consulting company, and then I started making enough money to quit that job, got into that full time, and built that up to multiple seven figures, which was pretty awesome. And I got out of that in 2021, ended up exiting and selling that to another guy who was in the space. So I got to focus full time on Nobility, which is awesome. And I know people in our community love that I was able to do that because I can make it my full time thing. That's pretty much where we are. Like in 2020, when the pandemic hit, I broke my leg really bad. I wasn't able to even put body weight on it for 8 months. So I was laid up on the couch and I was following a bunch of the trends and I saw that esports it was growing exponentially every single year. And then the pandemic hit and it seemed like everybody was online, everybody was gaming and trying to be a streamer and stuff like that. So I wanted to be involved with it. My life goal has always been to like own a professional sports team like the NBA or something. I don't have $1 billion yet, so esports was like the thing I could get into quickly. So I got into that and invested into an esports organization, and it's run by like a lot of immature younger people. And so I just knew that there were a bunch of ways that could be enhanced, and that was the time when like SafeMoon and a bunch of like Doge and a bunch of other stuff was just like killing it, making a bunch of waves, and people were talking about it. So I was like, dang, I wonder what it would be like to start a cryptocurrency and tie it in with the esports stuff, and improve the space. So that's when I started Nobility. Had some plans for it, and those have changed over time. But I think we still have the same mission, the same goals, and we're finally coming out with our products now. So that kind of brings us up to where we are now.
So I
Yes,
have to
go
know,
ahead. Sorry, Holly.
how do your hours with Nobility compare to your hours at your old jobs?
Oh, it's about the same, honestly.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually more now, but I like doing it. I like doing my own thing. I
Yeah.
like knowing that every hour I put into it benefits me and not somebody else. And I just salary, so it doesn't like I don't get paid per hour. I don't get paid
Yep.
annually, whatever. What I put into it is what I'm gonna get out of it. So that makes me more motivated, I think. But my wife, I started my e-commerce company before I met her, and I was working like almost literally like 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, was nonstop. And it's just wired. I always go 100% into everything I do. And like even before we got married, I'm like, probably gonna have to get used to. Like I work all throughout the night. So I hardly ever sleep in bed. Actually, I'm in my office now. I have a bed like right across from me. I sleep in my office a lot of nights, but it's just just how I'm wired, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah. So before we go any further, I guess not every night though, because you're a new father. So congratulations on
Wow.
that. Yeah.
I think it's backwards on the screen, but yeah.
No,
My
it's all
wife
it's
had
normal for us though.
Yeah, my wife had our kid 10 weeks early, so he's definitely early, and he's been in the NICU for 4 weeks now. I think 3 or 4 weeks. He's supposed to be in there for five, so he has about 1 to 1.5 more weeks left in there, and then we can finally bring him home. Like I was talking to you guys before we went live, just going back and forth to the hospital. Hospital's over an hour away, so it's been time consuming just driving, but there's ways to be productive on your drives and stuff like that, so it's not hindering too much.
Yeah, that's awesome. Congratulations on that. I'm glad to hear that mom and baby are all doing good. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, it was kind of the talk of the town there for a little bit on Twitter, at least in some of the circles we roll in. So,
Oh,
wanted to,
really?
yeah, at least wanted to make sure and bring that up and say congratulations. So,
Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, I don't go too much on Twitter, so I'm not sure what people talk about. I think it's a toxic place, so I try to avoid it.
that's why we have
Good,
Holly.
good decision. That
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I'm for, I guess.
Yeah, actually, we try to avoid that, and some of our segments are actually about how toxic Twitter can be sometimes. So we we spend a fair amount of time there, but Holly gets to kind of be our liaison, so I don't have to be there all the time. So,
Yeah.
so when it comes to nobility and with what you've got going on, so you started this and kind of brought it up through the ranks, and I'll be honest with you, we caught a little bit of flack when a couple 3-4 weeks ago, and it's a funny story, so don't get me wrong here, but for saying that you guys had kind of I can't remember the exact word that was used.
On dark.
Yeah, that you
Yeah,
guys had
went
went dark,
Yeah.
and we meant like on Twitter, but then came back, and then that's when the news about Rio came out, and we use it as a positive spin of like just because
Yeah.
people aren't out in the forefront on social media blasting every little tiny accomplishment that they do, that there are tokens and things going on in the background that people are actually building, and kind of caught a little bit of flack for that because I think people thought we were trying to dog you guys.
Oh no.
But we thought
Yeah.
it was a good thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Like if people aren't really keeping up their, that's the weird thing about crypto is you
yeah,
don't have access to everybody, and it's hard, like because you don't know who's holding what. The wallets don't have names, they don't have phone numbers or anything, emails. So the only way you can really communicate with holders is through social media. And so if people really aren't Discord is that's where we post all our announcements and stuff. It's like people aren't up to date, and I feel horrible, but there's literally nothing to do. Like I don't know any of these holders. I know some personally, but I don't know 90% of them, and so that's the hard thing. But yeah, for Twitter, I feel like we do like one or two things a week, which I don't know what the standard is or whatever, but we try to put some stuff out on Twitter just so people know we're alive still. But yeah, like when you're building, especially in a bear market, like building something so big and like there's really not much to update people on, honestly. Like we could update people on smaller things that we just programmed that week or something, but people would just be bored of it, so it didn't seem worth of sharing.
Yeah.
yeah, and part of what we were talking about too is sometimes I think people can go a little bit too far with what they're putting out there, and then the
Yeah.
expectations become unrealistic. And what we thought, the approach that you guys took, and I don't never really dialed it into like how many times a week you posted things or anything like that, but
Yeah.
we thought that was a good thing. Like I feel like sometimes as holders, people feel like that they deserve more information than they actually probably do.
Yeah.
But managing expectations is a big thing as a CEO, I think, also. And
For
some
sure.
are good at it and some aren't. And that's okay. But so going back to nobility, I just had to throw that out there because it was kind of funny, at least to the four of us, that we caught some flack for something we thought was positive. But anyways,
Yeah, and just I don't mean to cut you off,
No,
but
that's
just going
okay.
off of what you just said is I think that's one of the hardest and most difficult transitions from what I was doing before into this crypto world. And crypto, I think people have they have more accessibility to like the CEOs and the CTOs and stuff like that.
Yes.
And so they're like constantly messaging me and DMing me, asking me questions. People are tagging me in the Discord, which is fine. I love answering questions. I'm trying to be as transparent as possible, but it's definitely different than any other business out there. I think like these people can ask you questions whenever they want, really, and they have so much access to you that you feel obligated to answer and stuff like that. So
Yeah, and just like in the real world too, I assume some of them have a little bit more patience on how long it takes people to get back to them and answer. But I can only imagine, in like what I used to do for a living, if 3,000 people a day came into my office to ask me questions, how do they expect me to get anything done? you know,
Right.
so
yeah,
I
and a
feel
part of
for
that,
you.
like yeah, exactly like you said though, like it's managing expectations. I don't know if I've done a awesome job of that, like because we have so many different third parties that do stuff for us. Like we have a development team doing the development stuff and all that kind of stuff. And so when they give me a timeline, I relay that to our community. I don't really know like exactly when that's going to end or whatever. I'm just counting on the development team and these other teams to finish when they tell me to. And if it doesn't, it falls back on me. And so I take the blame for it, which is completely fine. Like it should be something that up with and set a better expectation for. And I think I've done better over time. I've learned my lesson, but I think that's another one of the hard things about this industry too.
Yeah, you know what? That may be one of the most common threads that we've had from guests, especially people in the position that you're in, is that maybe a lot of people knew or didn't know about was some of the things that you have to rely on for the third party, and
Yeah.
they can give you a deadline, and so being, I think, as a good communicator, you kind of relay that, and then that third party doesn't hit their deadline, they don't look bad. It's the people like you that wear the tag CEO that end up having egg on their face. But also, the expectations of people have got to be a little bit more realistic, I think, too, because things like that happen. I don't care if you're a grocery store clerk or if you were the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company. Things like that happen all the time. So,
Well, especially
Yeah.
when you're dealing with tech.
yeah.
Tech, anything in tech doesn't always go as it seems, as we
It
know.
never
Started
does,
late today,
ever.
and it was because of a tech issue. So, you can't plan for the unknown.
Yeah.
When the unknown happens, you kind of just have to roll with it. And I think a lot of people need to understand that the CEO or the CFO or whatever, their title may be, isn't the actual ones doing the work. They are relying on the people to give them proper updates as necessary. And you can only go by what they're telling you, right? But what they're telling you may look really good on paper, but when you're actually developing it, doesn't go that way. So I think a lot more people need to be understanding about that part.
Yeah.
It's not
And
really anybody's to blame.
Yeah, and we've definitely had our experiences with that as well in the past, but we've kind of learned from it a little bit, or I have. And one of the things that I've changed is, if I talk to, like, if we have a new product coming out or something like that, and it's, I get told by a team that's, hey, it's going to take 3 to 4 months. We have this, this, and this coming. Then instead of me going like I used to do in the beginning, I used to go to the community and say, hey, in 4 months, this is going to be coming out. It's going to be awesome and whatever. 4 months comes and goes, and I look stupid. So I kind of learned over time that instead of going out that same day and saying, hey, 4 months, I'm going to wait maybe 3 months, see where we're at, and then announce that it's going to be coming in 1 month or whatever the case is, just so, we have a better idea of where we're at in that specific point of time. And, that can give a better expectation. So like you were saying before, the setting the expectation is definitely the biggest thing you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. So esports, and you kind of give us a background on that. So what's Nobility's role in that esports community, that area? Well,
Yeah.
let us
So
know what that looks like.
Yeah, for sure. It's evolved over time. So in the beginning, we were throwing a bunch of different esports tournaments. We had done a bunch of partnerships with gamers and streamers and professional gamers and stuff like that. We threw I think our first tournament was a $50,000 Warzone tournament. It's a Call of Duty one. We had like some of the top players in the whole world come together and play. Fortnite tournament with a bunch of pro players. I think that was like a $25,000 tournament. We've done Overcooked. We've done a bunch of different things with professional gamers. And after looking at it, it wasn't as profitable, I guess. Like, we weren't making any money from it. It seemed like more of a waste of money. I don't want to say a waste of money because it wasn't a waste, but we just felt like we could put money elsewhere. So we kind of put that aside, had more community events, and we're going to end up doing those tournaments like in time once our products come out. But we've transitioned to building out our actual products. And so with a technology platform called Rio, and it's for streamers, and it's going to do all different kinds of crazy stuff. So our MVP is done. One of the announcements I was going to make is we actually got it finally approved for our banking and our credit card processing today, which is awesome. So we can finally have transactions flowing through the platform, and we can make it live once we're ready for it. So what it's going to be is, initially it was just going to be like a tipping system. And so as people were tipping their favorite streamers, which is what they already do now, and they're making thousands and thousands of dollars from tips, the money is going to go into Nobility, by the Nobility automatically. We have a pull process for it in the back end. But all these transactions through all these tips, these kind of microtransactions are going to be buys on the chart. So it's going to directly impact Nobility and our price and our volume, which is what the users want. And we try to create a way where it didn't seem like these gamers were interacting with crypto. It's more like a a digital currency kind of thing. It doesn't feel like crypto at all on the platform, which is, I think, important because I think there's like a negative stigma kind of with crypto, especially in the gaming space.
Yeah.
But it's like it's what gamers are used to. They're used to buying like virtual currency in their games and buying like skins and all different kinds of things, like in-game products. Kind of wanted to make it like that. So that's like the main focus of how it's going to help Nobility for now. But we have other stuff coming, and right now we have it so that that are streaming on Twitch, you can go onto the Rio platform, and everything on Twitch is mirrored onto our platform. And another one of the announcements I was going to make is that we have just been approved for the Kick, which is another streaming platform, their API, so then we can integrate Kick onto the platform as well. So we have Twitch and Kick on the same platform because right now streamers are streaming in all different places. They're streaming at YouTube, Kick, Twitch, TikTok, all these other places, and it's kind of hard to keep up with where they're streaming at. Like their followers don't know where they're going to be a certain day, but instead of trying to track them down, track down their social medias and where they're going to be, they can just go to Rio, go to that person's account, and no matter where they're streaming, it's going to show a page for them. So, and they can interact and engage with them from there. So that's what we have for now. We're going to build upon that. We have some other plans as well, but haven't been announced yet.
That's very cool because you're right. I mean, even with what we have going on here, it's one of those deals where it seems like every platform has something where they want you to put your videos directly on there and not share links and this and that. So to have something like Rio where it's kind of a one-stop shop where you can figure out where that's going is really cool. And you're right. I like what you said, Kyle, about the currency in games, because you got, say, your V-Bucks in Fortnite. I think one of the first really, really big ones was the gold that was in WoW. I've always thought that would have been a great opportunity to integrate crypto. If you could, anybody that was out there that was playing WoW, and maybe people still do, I just don't have time for it anymore. But if you could have done that with a crypto and bought the skins and the weapons and the spells and all those sort of things, man, whatever crypto that would have been huge. So
Yeah,
I think that's
pretty
really
much
cool.
what crypto is that digital currency. It's like the exact same thing, pretty much. It just doesn't have a price.
Right. So they'll be able to tip and do things like that on the Rio platform for these streamers.
Yeah, and like the streamers can get into their dashboard. They can see how much was tipped, who tipped them. They can run reports for the past day, week, month. They can do custom range, doesn't matter. So they can see exactly what they're being tipped for tax purposes as well. And they can upload their social media accounts so people know where to follow them. And then we have other ways that they're going to be able to integrate some stuff like the Shopify, their own customized Shopify stores where they can monetize from the audience as well. That's another big thing that we're focused on is helping the streamer side of it, help them grow their audience, maintain their audience, and monetize from the audience.
Now, is that exclusive for gamers, or do you have?
No, I mean, we're
Okay.
just focused on gamers now because that's kind of where my background is, and a lot of our team comes from the gaming background. So we have a bunch of connections in the esports space and the gaming and streaming spaces as well. So we actually just sent out a waiting list to a bunch of people, and we have some pretty significant names that have already signed up, which is pretty cool. So they're all gamers, but we're open to anybody really.
Gotcha. So that do you see that being the immediate future for Nobility then, and the use case for the token is through Rio?
Yeah, for sure. So besides that platform, that's like our primary flagship product, I guess, but we're also going to be doing these custom apps. My partner doesn't want me to say too much about it. He's kind of playing it close to the chest, I guess, but we're going to be starting to development on that soon, very soon. It's going to be custom apps for each individual streamer. They pay a monthly fee to maintain it, and we help integrate these different features that are going to be able to help them grow their audience and stuff like that. So it's going to be awesome. I'm pumped to kind of release it and show people exactly what it looks like. I mean, it probably means nothing to anybody right now, but my partner and I are super excited about it. And it's going to be, I think, better than what the form we have right now is going to be for Ria or for Nobility. But yeah, time will tell on that.
That's very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you maybe, so you were into gaming and stuff like that, so a little bit off Nobility, but more just about you. Do you have a favorite all-time video game?
I like Call of Duty, I like Madden, but I don't really play too much of video games, honestly.
So you probably don't have time anymore.
Right.
Yeah, not anymore. Especially now with a baby, it's gonna be. I don't even know how to juggle that, but that's
You'll
something I'm
figure it
doing.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you guys have any tips, let me know.
No, I don't.
Man, I feel like, yeah, it's been 17 years for me. So no.
Yeah, for
No.
sure. I think it's just one of those things that everybody feels like they don't know how to do it, and then you look back on it and you go, I survived. You know, and so did the kid.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm 33, and my mom had me when she was like 20. So I'm like, if she could do it when she's 20, I could do it when I'm 33.
Yeah, that's exactly kind of
It'll
the
be
same boat I
fine.
was
It'll
in.
come super
Yeah.
natural.
As long as
Yep.
he doesn't die, that's
Yeah.
all that matters, really.
Yeah,
Just
There
get
you
him
go.
to like 18, and then he'll figure it out from there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's not so true either, Kyle. Just so you know, I've got a couple that are a little bit 18 and older, and sometimes it gets a little bit more complicated the older they get. So you got that to look forward to. Let me tell you.
Yeah,
I
when
mean,
I
I
turned
feel like
18,
boys are easier though.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, at
I
18.
would agree 100%. I'll just leave it
Yeah.
at that in case one of my daughters happens to watch this episode. We'll see.
Oh no,
When I
I'll let my daughter know. If you were a boy, you'd be
You're gonna
10
make her
times
watch it.
easier than you are right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I turned 18, my mom's like, here's your phone bill, here's this bill. All right, see you later. I had to figure stuff out by myself, but
Yeah.
okay.
But look at you now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
worked it out.
You know, I mean, did you ever think when you were in college you'd be sitting here talking to us because you're the CEO of a cryptocurrency?
You know what? I always have dreamed about talking to you guys.
I
Ever since
know.
I was a little kid.
You knew it.
Most
You knew
people
it.
do. Let me tell
Bucket
you.
list.
You just check that off of your bucket list item right
Yeah.
there. So, Kyle, let me ask you this too. As we get a little bit closer to the next few segments we have, is there anything else that you would like to discuss or talk about when it comes to Nobility or you personally or anything like that?
Few more announcements for the Nobility and Rio stuff. It'll be really quick, I promise. I won't turn this into
Oh,
a
take
2 hour.
your time.
That's good. Yeah.
The first thing is for Nobility. Hank and I have been discussing this for a long time. Hank is our CTO, but we're gonna Nobility very, 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 very soon. We're gonna be going cross chain, and the supply is going to be shared between all the chains. So if we go the Ethereum route, Cardano, whatever, Solana, it's all going to be tied to one liquidity. So if somebody or one liquidity pool, so if somebody on Solana purchases Nobility through that network, then it's going to affect the entire ecosystem, which is pretty cool. And we've been talking about it for a while, but now it's reality. Hank is finishing up that technology, and so we should be launching that very soon. So we're excited about that. That's the Nobility thing. I already announced two of the other things I was going to mention. One of the other features that we have coming out for Rio. That's why I have to hop off here at 8, but I'm meeting with a guy for dinner with this company that we're going to be partnering up with, and they do like custom avatars, for, like 3D augmented reality avatars. And so people on Rio are going to be able to put in custom orders for avatars that they want to be displayed as in their stream, which is pretty cool. And they get ownership of those avatars, and they could do like stuff with their phone and cool stuff like that. So they could order like if they want to look like a robot, and it gets so detailed too, and they could do different accessories and stuff like that. So no other streaming platform has anything like that before. So we're going to be able to offer that exclusively on our platform, and I think that's going to be a cool selling point, a cool little feature that no one else has. That I think is going to be awesome. And then actually, right now, my partner Matt, this is the last announcement. My partner Matt is talking to the CEO of the investor firm that we've been talking to. So it's a private equity capital firm out in on the east coast of Florida here, and we should be finalizing that deal in the next 24 hours, hopefully. So we have that. We're going to be meeting the guy at his new sim racing facility here in Tampa. And so that's planned, it's scheduled, and finally getting that out of the way because we've been talking to these guys for months now, trying to wrap that up.
That's very cool. It sounds like you have a lot of really interesting things and things that people should be excited for that are on the horizon that'll be coming out probably sooner than later, it sounds like. So,
Yeah, everything is happening so fast. It's finally coming together.
yeah.
You know, honestly, when you talk about it, you can tell your excitement just by the way you talk about it and the smile on your face. Like,
Really?
it's like you're trying really hard to not say something you shouldn't. And so, yeah, I can definitely tell, but I think it's amazing.
That's interesting because my wife and my whole family says I'm not an emotional person. You can never tell how I'm like.
Have her watch this episode.
Like if I won, if I won $1 billion, I would look exactly like this. Like I wouldn't even.
Not me. I'd be running around with a shirt on or something, and you know that I won $1 billion. Well, Kyle, we really appreciate you coming on, and we're going to have you on for the next couple of segments too, so people will be able to get to know you a little bit better, maybe you as a person. But we do wish you all the success in the world. We're rooting for you. Like I said, we've been following you guys for a really, really long time. And it really is kind of an honor to us that you came on the program to discuss all things nobility. So once again, thank you very, very much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. You guys are awesome. I love this.
Before we head into the nonsense, I just want to tell you that Rick is amazing.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorite people.
Me too. Rick and I have been following each other for quite a while, and I actually got to meet him. There was a LA event, and I got to meet him there. And he is just overall, there's just something about him where he makes you feel comfortable immediately, and you know that he's rooting for you.
Yeah, maybe you. He gives me some backlash on some stuff, but yeah, no.
Well, that's what you're supposed to do when you work, But no, I just really want to give him a shout out because he is such an amazing person, and if it wasn't for him, I'm not sure we would even be on this podcast right now. So with you. Yeah, I mean, I was scared to reach out, and I don't know. And Rick actually reached out to me, and I was like, "Oh hell yes, we've been wanting this for so long." So I just really appreciate that he did that. And one other thing is, I have to thank you. So when we talked about you in the good, for the very first time, I admitted that I sold my nobility a while back. And the simple fact that you got on and you said, "Oh, I remember you, Holly, and it's okay, it happens to the best of us," that was so refreshing to me because we're always just so used to getting bashed for, these type of situations. But you have a holder in me again. So, and I will not be dumb and sell it early. But yes.
I appreciate it. No, I never understood that either, why people get mad when people sell, because you never know what someone's going through in their lives. Like that could be a significant amount of money or pay for something important, and so you never know. So I never have any hard feelings or anything about when people sell. I never check the charts. I don't track wallets. I don't do any of that stuff. So, but I appreciate it. I appreciate the support and confidence.
I think that just solidifies in my mind like your character though too, because Holly's right. There is a lot of that going on. And for you to have the confidence in yourself to not check charts and wallets and all that stuff, I personally just feel like sometimes when people do that, it's because they don't have confidence in what they're working in. But also, it is a big deal whether I think people realize it or not. And in this case, whether you realize it or not, Kyle, that you would actually come out and say something like that. Because for whatever reason, and we talked about this earlier on Twitter or X, whatever you call it, it becomes very toxic very quickly. And whenever somebody else that matters, like you in this instance, will come out and say something like that, it shuts it down almost immediately.
Fast. I'm like, thank goodness. I seriously appreciate you for that because I was so ready. Like, I was preparing myself for people to really lay into me. And I was like, oh crap, here we go. And then I really do believe that your comment, especially coming from, the CEO of this project or company, to say that, I think it backed everybody off. And it was just like, oh, whew. And honestly, I was like, oh, thank God. I was able to breathe after that. So.
Yeah, no doubt it did.
On the show because you were so scared of me.
Yeah.
The truth comes out.
Yeah, the truth is out there now. You can't take it back.
I'm pretty approachable. I don't get mad at anybody. But yeah, back to the Rick thing. I just want to say my quick thing about Rick. But he's like honestly the most genuine and nicest person I know. Honestly, like I've only met him one time in person for an event we had a couple years ago. He's amazing. He's an amazing guy. So I'm blessed to have him inside of our community. I don't know why he is involved in our community, but definitely blessed to have him. I wish we had 100 of him. He's an amazing guy.
Yes.
Well, that's on record now, so you can never take it back.
Yeah, I know he's gonna record that. He's gonna clip it out.
Yeah, he is. He's going to make a meme out of it. It's going to end up being a holiday card come Christmas time. Yeah, you're going to see that forever now. But
I'm Caleb. Please like and subscribe.